Welcome back for Tempo Storm's latest deck introduction. For this intro, we're going to discuss how to pilot two of the most powerful archetypes in the meta at the moment, Aggro Finja Warrior and Aggro Finja Rogue. Even before the nerf to Small-Time Buccaneer, Murloc variants of aggro decks were popping up all over the meta. The concept began to gain traction when Luminosity's Frozen nearly swept the entire NA Winter HCT Finals using a Murloc-based version of Pirate Warrior, which has been dubbed Water Warrior. With Buccaneer reduced to 1 health, aggressive pirate decks are making some significant adjustments. Formerly, the game plan was exclusive to rushing opponents down as quickly as possible, often by turn 5. Now, decks like Aggro Warrior and Aggro Rogue are still open for aggressive game plans, but can also use a strategy where developing Finja the Flying Star on turn 5 creates game-winning dividends on turn 6 and 7. The power of the Finja swing play gives these archetypes the ability to be flexible in a game, allowing aggro to rebound from the nerf successfully while beating out Jades, Dragons, Totems, and even Reno and Kazakus in the meta snapshot. When players refer to a water deck or to the Finja package, it looks like this, running Finja the Flying Star, 2 copies of Bluegill Warrior, and 2 copies of Murloc Warleader. In all of the Finja archetypes, Warrior, Rogue, even Mage and Druid, the concept revolves around identifying 5 card slots that are flexible in the current list, and then dropping in this package to replace those flexible cards. When starting a game with these decks, it's usually best to get rid of Murlocs in your opening mulligan, because you want to minimize the chance of drawing them before playing Finja. Navigate the early turns as you would any aggro deck, prioritizing damage to the face and managing significant components of the early board that might prevent your ability to push damage. The big difference in lines of play revolves around whether or not you can develop Finja on turn 5. If not, you should try and find a path to victory that doesn't involve Finja. If you do draw Finja before turn 5, then managing the board becomes more important. Realize that other Murlocs that are in your hand on turns 1 through 4 are often better served if saved for the Finja play. On turn 6, with Finja developed, your goal should be to value trade an opponent's minion and pull 2 Murlocs from your deck. One of the likely scenarios is pulling Murloc Warleader and a Bluegill Warrior. The Warleader buffs the Bluegill to a 4/2 with charge, and also buffs Finja. Be aware that if you trade Finja into a 4-attack minion, but then pull a Warleader from your deck, Finja will actually survive what would otherwise have been a lethal trade. Lastly, if you kept a Warleader or a Bluegill, or even both in your hand for this Murloc swing play, the power of your Murloc board will become simply overwhelming. When set up correctly, most decks in Hearthstone can't handle the strength of the Finja play. And if pulled off successfully, because this package functions in already aggressive archetypes, you're nearly guaranteed to find lethal, even if your board is cleared later on. Water Warrior is certainly the more straightforward Finja deck to play. In most games, Finja and his friends are hardly necessary, and Pirate Warrior does what it always does, killing opponents on turn 5 or 6 with Reapers, Kor'kron Elites, and heroic strikes to the face. The Finja package serves as a fallback, and the Murlocs often find strong value even when just played from the hand. A Bluegill becomes at worst a cheap 2 damage trade or punch to the face that leaves behind something to deal with. A Warleader is at worst a 3/3 that has to be removed, offering a better chance of pirates surviving with their own synergy for your opponent to worry about. Also realize that Sir Finley Murgleton is in this archetype, meaning it's possible to pull him with Finja's ability. Finding Finley in your opening hand is huge, since he's the worst of the Murlocs you might pull from the Finja play. The use of Murlocs in Rogue is more intricate and important when compared to Water Warrior. Utilizing many of the Rogue tools like Shadow Step, Cold Blood, and Edwin Van Cleef in combination with the Murlocs offers additional ways for the deck to fully realize its potential. Also, the Finja play itself can be staged more carefully to assemble incredible burst damage. The Warleader, Bluegill, Shadow Step, Cold Blood synergies can piece together incredible amounts of face damage after the Finja trade, since the minions provided from your deck are essentially free, leaving plenty of mana to combo together all sorts of lines of play. Over the course of piloting Aggro Rogue on ladder, it's smart to review your games carefully, paying close attention to what combo pieces might have been better served if used at a different moment. Refining your ability to maximize the power of these synergies is key to success with the Finja archetype. Considering how long the mean streets of gadgets and meta was considered to be settled, it's really amazing that the Finja phenomenon bursted onto the scene in recent weeks. That something this powerful could sit in the shadows for nearly 3 full seasons should be a hopeful sign to Hearthstone theory crafters everywhere. What's even more interesting is that the only relevant Murloc rotating out of the Year of the Mammoth is Finley, leaving the 5-slot Finja package completely intact as we move into the next standard rotation. Now is a great time to learn how to utilize these cards and their synergies, since this little package of Murlocs might be relevant for the entire Year of the Mammoth to come. If you enjoyed this deck introduction, please consider giving us a like and join the discussion in the comments below. And be sure to subscribe to our channel to stay up to date on all of Tempo Storm's news and Hearthstone content.